everyone. Welcome to CT Local Track Scene. I'm your host, Dominic Konowski. We are joined by co-host and two-time Stafford Speedway Street Stock feature winner, Gary Spinato Jr. Gary, what an interesting week this is going to be in sports. Daytona 500 coming up.
Yeah, finally, we're getting back to some racing. Daytona 500. Tomorrow night is the Clash on the road course. That should be interesting. Thursday are the qualifying races. Good time to get the racing season started. It's, as you know, there's 2 feet of snow outside here. So let's get going.
Yeah, Connecticut getting hammered by a snowstorm all week, it seems. I can't wait for summer to come, and that's when the season really kicks off with the chase and everything. But I got to say, beginning of the season, like you said, tomorrow night, the Clash on the Daytona road course. What do we even think of that? I think that the Daytona road course is just going to be an absolute mess.
I'm not for it. I don't like it, but I'm not one for change. I can't stand the chase format. You know that. I wish they passes 43 drivers 36 times a year, crown a champion. I'm not into all the circus stuff. The dirt at Bristol. Not a fan of that. Bristol's my favorite race, and to me, they're going to ruin it. Probably in the major minority about that, but the Busch Clash. You were supposed to line all the pole winners up from the year before and go race, and that's what it was. And now wild cards, the entry was doing on a road course. Cup racing, NASCAR, they're getting away from their core audience, and it's going to cost them. I'm sorry. I don't watch like I used to. I used to be a diehard, watch every Sunday. I don't anymore.
Yeah, change. A lot of time, change could be a good thing. But in the NASCAR world, it has just been all negative. Why would you put dirt in Bristol? I would love to know who came up and approved that idea. Yes, it's going to bring in a lot of people watching it on TV, but you can't do that. We only have Bristol twice a year, and now one of them is going to be a dirt race.
I'm not against cars racing on dirt, but do it in a dirt track.
Exactly, like Eldora.
Tony Stewart, do Eldora.
Yeah.
Eldora. I mean, I don't understand this whole thing with dumping the dirt on Bristol. It's one of their higher rated races too, and they just threw it away.
It is, and that's why I don't get me. We see the Truck Series race on dirt, and they race at Eldora. Well, why couldn't the Cup Series find? There's so many dirt tracks. You're telling me that they couldn't find a single one to their liking. So instead, they're like, hey, let's make one of the most fan-watched and fan-attended events into dirt. Now, I have no problem overall with Bristol being dirt. I feel like it's going to be a good idea. But give us 3 Bristol races then. 2 on the regular short track and 1 on the dirt version of the track. I just think that's the dumbest thing.
Yeah, and second, I don't think it should be a points race. Some of those smaller teams, now you got to build a dirt car. These guys, they're killing the small guy.
They are, and we've seen the field. The field used to be 43 cars back in 2014. Now, sometimes it's only 36 at the beginning of the race. The smaller teams cannot afford it.
No, it's just they're pricing themselves out of,
It's sad. It's sad.
I have a little insight of what goes on in some of these teams, and you wouldn't believe some of these smaller teams have to do to compete. It's crazy.
Yeah. It really is. And I think all the additions, road courses, the Daytona road course. Well, what do we need the Daytona road course to? NASCAR started off on ovals, not on road courses. Yes, road courses have always been a part of NASCAR, though. But, the Circuit of Americas, that's Formula One. You're throwing oval racing guys on a Formula One circuit.
Well, I have no problem with them racing on a road course. The 2 they do a year, I used to like.
Yeah.
That Roval is a freaking disaster.
It is.
They stop doing that for someone that actually gets hurt.
I mean, honest with you, Chase Elliott's going to have like 20 wins by the time the season is over.
You think so?
I I feel like I know so. I feel like he's going to sweep the road courses. He's really been the road course king over the past 2 seasons. I think he's going to win all the road courses. I really do.
I was a huge Bill Elliott fan, growing up, and Chase is probably the guy I pull for now. I really don't have a favorite guy anymore, and obviously Ryan Preece because he's from Connecticut.
Yeah.
He's a good guy too. He's not, some of these guys get big heads when they go down there. Ryan's a down to earth guy. Cool
he
dude.
is.
Yeah.
No.
We'll see what happens. It viewership has dropped every year so far.
100%. It has, and it's sad. It really is sad. At one point, probably in the soon future, NASCAR is going to be one of those pay-per-view sports that you got to pay to watch every season, and it's sad.
Well, eventually, everything's going to be what they call a la carte. Cable, as we know it, is going to disappear. Everything will be on like networks. Like the Peacock network shows all the local racing. I'm a big wrestling fan, so I have the WWE network, which is the same thing. You pay to watch the wrestling. But that's what's going to happen. It's eventually going to be its own network, and you're going to subscribe to it for $9.99 a month and get all the racing.
I mean, it's sad. I mean, personally, me, I have no problem subscribing to it for a monthly cost, but it's just sign. NASCAR, it's a dying sport, like TV rating wise, and now fan attendance wise, and the coronavirus has just killed it even more. I gotta say though, drummed it back to the dirt race at Bristol. I feel like we're gonna see a guy like Kyle Larson win that. And there's talks of a former Chili Bowl winner, Rico Abreu, I think I got his last name correct, attempting that race. Wouldn't that be something?
That'd be pretty wild.
It would be.
For it, but as we all know, he's taking a little fallout with NASCAR at the moment, so I don't see that happening. So.
Yeah. Okay, so going on Daytona 500, what are your picks for the Truck, Xfinity, and Cup Series?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I couldn't even tell you one Truck Series driver right now. Same thing with Xfinity. I don't even know who's even in it this year. I don't even know.
I mean, I don't think it just seems like Kyle. It seems like Kyle Busch is just in the Xfinity Series. He seems to win every race, so that they should just rename it the Kyle Busch Series.
Good call. I'll say Kyle Busch in the Truck and Kyle Busch in Xfinity. All right.
Yeah.
Cup race. I don't know. You never know.
Yeah.
It comes out the last lap. I mean, we've had some surprise winners. Matt Benedetto, not Matt Benedetto. Oh man. What's his name? The kid that's 21 a few years back.
Oh, Wayne Blaney.
No. I'm getting old. My memory's shot, guys. Sorry. The kid who won the Wood Brothers car for his first win, and he went on and raced for
Trevor Bayne. I don't think he's attempting it this year. I know that he's out. Last time he raced in the Cup Series was in 2018, and then he got replaced by Matt Kenseth.
I don't think he's racing at all.
Yeah, and it's sad. Truly a one-win wonder for him by far. Now, my picks for Daytona are the 3 J's. Trucks, Jennifer Jo Cobb. Xfinity, I have Justin Allgaier winning, and then Cup, I have Joey Logano win what would be his second ever Daytona 500.
Nice, good picks. I have the other two people who you said. I've heard of Justin Allgaier. He always has the branded sponsorship, right? 7?
Yeah.
So.
Now, enough with like the international racing. With a CT local track scene, Stafford Motor Speedway season's coming up in about 10 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Who do you have for your power rankings for each division?
Well, start with the modifieds. You got to go with Rocco, number 1. Until somebody proves me wrong. He's pretty much the man. You got Mike Christopher, who's been running very well. Ronnie Williams, too. He's phenomenal. Late models, the usual suspects. You're going to have Adam Gray. You're going to have the Ferns. Kevin McGorder, there always seems to be running well. Hopefully we can get our first win this year with the late model. You know.
Yeah, with Paul. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we almost had one last year.
Yeah, so close for many of the races, just bad luck at the end. I think wins on the horizon, 100%. Very strong 2020, nevertheless.
Yeah, with the other divisions, it's so hard because they're feeder divisions, and the roster constantly turns over.
It really does. That's hard to say.
In the street stocks, we got Travis Hydar's coming back. He was strong last year.
Yeah, he finished ninth in points, if I'm correct.
But he missed a bunch of races. He was actually strong till his car got wrecked.
Yeah.
Adrian coming back. He got really strong at the end of the year. But Jason Lafayette in the 21, he's always good. With Megan and Zach moving on, the two biggest heavy hitters out of the division.
Yeah, so. That division is truly up for grabs. Now, all power rankings are pretty similar. For the SK mods, I have Keith Walker, Lonnie Williams, and Todd Owen.
I forgot. Sorry, Todd. I forgot all about you. Yeah, I'd have to put you in my top 3.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like even if he's not in the top 3, he's definitely in the top 5. Todd Owen, he's so close. It's really Keith Walker keeping him away, because Todd Owen, overall, even though he finished third in the points behind Williams, he performed a lot better overall than Williams this season, average finish-wise. So he's so close. It's just Walker, and I do think that he could be able to overtake him, but he's going to have to do a lot. And who knows how this season will go, but I have him in my top 3. But SK, Alexander Paul, George Bassett Jr., and Derek Debbins. 5 wins in this rookie season. When does that ever happen?
I don't know. Maybe in a street stock. I'm not sure. Or maybe the first year of the limited late models. I think technically everybody was a rookie. So, but no, that's not something. I remember too, though. No, the SK Late he got, that was a Todd Owens car, and that was Narducci's SK Late. So that was he already had a great. And
he already had a great car.
I know. I remember his father Kevin racing. I never knew he had a son until this year. That race. So.
Well, you learn something every day, even though school's out of the sessions and it's racing season, you always have time to learn something.
Yeah, with the limited late models, Fern, she'll be back.
Yeah, limited late models, it's going to be Jeremy Lavoie versus Alexander Fern, and then I guess you could say Matt Clement, who had a very down 2020. He actually missed a race in 2020, so who knows? But I think mainly it's going to be Lavoie and Fern battling it out.
Duran is not coming back to defend his title, even with the late model. I think pretty much most of the guys are coming back from the year before. A couple new names I saw. We'll see. That's such a small division at times. It's really hard. Anybody can win at any given week.
I think what Stafford Motor Speedway should do is incorporate the limited late models in the street stocks and make it just one big division.
No, you can't. The rules are too different.
That is true.
The problem with the limited late models, that class is stuck in the middle. You can't race it anywhere else. It costs a ton of money to build those cars.
It does.
But you don't get the payout like you do with the late model. We used to have a limited. That's what Paulie ran. And we were banging our heads against the wall, especially when they changed over to the crate motors. We're like, what do we do with our open motor? So we went out and we moved up the late model, and we actually did better because the payout was a lot better. And we had some serious learning curves in the beginning, but at the end it was a better choice, we thought. So
yeah, I gotta say, the late model division, many people say that the SK modified division is the most interesting division at Stafford, but I argue with that and say it's the late models, because the late models, you have sometimes 10 drivers who could win the race. With that said, I think my power rankings for the late model division is Tom Thorne. Yes, he went winless in 2020, but he's going to come back with a punch, and I do think that he will have one of his best seasons.
He's going to come back with a vengeance.
100%.
And you got, Ryan Fern, who that kid's just a phenomenal driver.
He is a future champion in the late model division, no doubt about that. And then I have Adam Gray and Kevin Gambacota. Kevin, he only ran 7 to 8 races in 2020, had a really down year, just caught up in crashes, bad luck.
Yeah. Right out of the gate, and then he was going to come back, and he changed his mind. Let me tell you something about Kevin. Kevin does more with less than anybody I've ever met in my life. He does everything himself for the most part. I don't know, his garage is not the biggest thing in the world. That kid now, he's gonna be 40. He does everything himself. He is what a local short track racer is. He always has the right attitude. He's a good guy. I've known him since he's been 18 years old. I actually sold him his first race car.
Really?
Yeah, Kevin bought what we used to call dare stocks back then from us back in 2001. He actually raced against me. So when he was he was 18 years old. So.
Yeah, and I just want to say, for those who don't know, Gary, he's with Winter Race Car. So if any of you guys watching this video want to get into racing and you want to race, especially at Stafford Speedway, give Winter Race Car a call.
So yeah, we'll talk about that later. Like I said, we do run out race cards to people. So we're coming up soon. 10 weeks away to open practice, I think. Before we got to be on the track. Late model's pretty much getting almost done. Paulie was doing a few things to it this week. The 22 runs now after that hellacious wreck it was in last year. We finally got it all back together. We finally got the 66 all straightened out from the wreck last year. So that car will be back. 26 is going to have a body put on it pretty soon. We bought a new car for Chris, the 94. We're going to retire the other one. It got murdered this year a couple times. It's just time. It's seen its lifetime as a race car. It's going to go back probably to the rental fleet after we do some work to it. And we got our 6 car running again at the end of last year. So we should have a full fleet of cars.
Yeah, that is great to hear. A lot of drivers going to have a lot of success with the Winter Race Car this year. No doubt about that.
It's not a success thing. It's to get people into racing. Like I told you, we got Kevin going. Kevin wasn't a renter, but he actually got a car from us. And then his father wanted to go racing, so he got another car. So we got 2 people, right there, in the racing. I think right now, there's 6 drivers who compete all the divisions that started as a renter. And Phil Jakes just ran down New Smyrna. He moved to Florida over the summer. He was running down New Smyrna with, I think it's called a sportsman mod, I think they call it. So we get people into racing. We're not out there to make you a winner. We want to get you out there to try racing, see if you like racing. Maybe you'll come back by a car, keep the car counts going. Because in 2015, we were down to 13 street stocks. That's it. And we brought 5 of them every week. So what's that tell you?
Yeah. The street stock division, I remember when I was talking with Franciana, he used to race. Yeah, he said that there used to be around 25 street stocks per feature, and it was crazy on how it just digressed.
Before Franny started racing with us, a couple years before, I started 35th one night.
Wow.
37 street stock show. We used to call them dare stocks back then. Showed up.
That is crazy.
For the last race of 2000. So.
And for those who don't know, a street stock or a deer stock at Stafford, it's essentially a old 1980s Monte Carlo. So, I can't imagine what those must have looked like all at Stafford having 30-plus cars on the track.
Well, the problem now is the street stocks are based off an 85 Monte Carlo. Because they have not made the car in 30 years, there's really nothing that we use anymore off a car. Everything's aftermarket, but it's all based off the metric chassis. You know, we have a fiberglass roof now because we can't get a roof. All the bodies are handmade. We have the coating of nose cones. All the suspension is aftermarket for the most part. Even the front clip, you can't get them anymore for the most part. So they're all aftermarket front clips. Same thing with the rear clip. I mean, there's a couple cars in the shop that there's not one piece that came off a metric chassis. Now it's just based off the old metric chassis style car.
Yeah, and that's crazy. But I'm happy though that they're at least keeping like the style of the car, because it definitely brings you back if you're a long time waster to the 80s.
Well, because starting this season, Waterford and Thompson on a lot of their street stocks to put the newer updated Camaro and Mustang bodies on them, which sort of they're not street stocks anymore when you do that.
Yeah.
You want to call them one, be my guest. But no, they should have the 80s bodies on them. But because I don't want to hear you can't get them because they make them whatever you want. You can get the Monte Carlo roof. From the nose pieces, you can get a Malibu one if you want. I tried talking to the guy into making a Buick Regal one, but he won't do it. So I figured that'd be cool, just to change it up a little bit. Like I said, though, they're street stocks, but they're really not anymore.
Yeah.
They've evolved more into a sportsman type car. I mean, my first car, my original 22 car, all in cost me $3,500 to build. Okay?
Wow.
The 94 car, which we built a couple years ago, if we had to pay somebody to do that, you're looking at between $20,000 and $25,000 to build that car. So, it has changed. You just can't go to the junkyard anymore and get a street car and go racing. Those days are long, long gone.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's sad, to be honest with you.
Well, it's sad. It's just they don't make full frame cars anymore. What do you want to do? What do you want everybody to do? It's just technically there was an 88 Monte Carlo, but they haven't really made it since 87. All the 88s were lost because the Lumina, the Regal, they all changed over to the front wheel drive smaller car in 88.
Mm-hmm.
So, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, Stafford the best they can to keep the costs down, but it's just every year something else aftermarket. They let everybody run. They got to the point where there was no cars left because it was getting too expensive to build them.
Yeah.
Now you can take a late model. You can take your street stock, move it with a very little modification, make it a limited late model, and then take your limited late model with an engine modification, change it into change it to a regular late model. Yeah, it helps, but in that case, but it also kills car count because they're not selling the used car to somebody else getting into the division.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword with some of these things that that happen. But like I said, they do what they do to keep the costs down. If you can do more stuff you can do yourself, obviously the cheaper it's going to be. But over the years, fabricators have they've driven the price of the cars up so far, and it's just we're never going to see a 35 car field again. To start the season, I think the biggest field we had. The start of the 2020 season, we had 27 street stocks show up, and that was the biggest field we had in 10 years.
Wow.
I think that this year was hard because of everything that was going on. Some guys just didn't come race, but we started the season with 26 cars or 25 cars. In the last few weeks, we had none. I mean, we were running 15 cars because everybody kept getting destroyed. It was just. It was a learning curve this year because all those years we ran that restrictor plate under the carburetor, and we took it off for this year, and they were not go-karts anymore. They were really sketchy to drive in the beginning until we figured it out. So.
Yeah, it was a really interesting season at Stafford. Now, Gary, This was our first ever episode of CT Local Track Scene. Sadly, it's time to end it, but we will be back, folks, next week, recapping the 500 for y'all. But Gary, is there
Yep.
anything that you would like to say to anyone watching this video?
Well, thank you. Hopefully, you guys keep on watching. In a few weeks, we'll have some guests chime in.
Yes.
Once the racing season gets going, we'll do it every week. Over the winter, I don't think. Are we going to do this every week, or are we just going to after Daytona then take a couple weeks off? How are we going to do this?
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
All right. Like I said,
of course, everyone who's watching, just go to the New York Sports Show Facebook page, and you will receive updates on there. And before you go, to make sure to go to the Went Away Score Facebook page, make sure to give them a like. And if, like I said, if you're interested, definitely contact them.
yeah, and if anybody out there who's watching has got any questions, put them in the comments below, and we'll see if we can answer them next week.
Yeah, 100%. We love to answer questions. So whatever you got, just give us, and if we could, we will respond.
Yeah, and another thing, guys, I'm sorry if I'm a little fidgety and everything. I'm not used to this. This is not my thing. But we're going to try to make it work. Dominic's a good kid. He puts all this together for us. This is all him. I just hit the button and turn on the iPad and start talking. He does all the technical stuff. This is his baby. So.
Well, thank you, Gary. But you've done a big part, especially to this episode as well. So I can't take all the credit, but I thank you for being my co-host. This is going to be a great series that me and Gary are going to do, and I'm really excited to see where it would take the New York Sports Show and rent a race car.
All right, I'll talk to you.
Yeah, I'm Dominic, and that's Gary. Yeah, he's scared. And we are signing out, folks. Thank you for tuning in.